In a story released a couple days ago, the Critical Election Incident Public Protocol Panel and the Security and Intelligence Threats to Elections Task Force put out some press briefings, announcing that they had observed that the Chinese government had made some attempts to meddle in the Canadian election. Right after this happened, so much BS reporting happened on this matter, so I've decided to make this video. In this video, I will do my genuine best to, number one, give you the facts of the matter in the most forthright and genuine way as I see them, forward about my biases and how I try to counteract them, along with my strategy for thinking critically about the situation. And two, how multiple Canadian YouTubers who I will call out have used this situation to lie to you and sow distrust into this country.
Election interference is very real, but we also have to remember that our own state-funded media like CBC, they also provide a form of domestic election interference, in my opinion.
With all of that being said, here's how I prepared to make this video. I started by reading an article published by the Globe and Mail just to get a quick brief understanding of the situation, but not letting that sway me in any one direction. During the reading of that, I took notes, which I will have published in the description below. With that over, I searched online for the press release made by the actual organizations mentioned in the article, mainly the Site Task Force, and came upon 2 pages. I also read those pages and the material they linked to understand what they were talking about and to make sure that when I talked about this story, I gave the utmost attention to detail and care for intellectual honesty as I possibly could. When I was reading both these 2 pages made by the Privy Council and the 2 pieces of Chinese media that they linked to, I also took notes, which will also be linked in the description. With all of that being said, here's my account of the facts of what happened. On March 10th and March 25th, the largest news account on Chinese social media, WeChat, Yuli Yomain, I don't know how to pronounce that shit, which is a completely anonymously run account, but one which intelligence reports have suspected is run by the People's Republic of China's Central Political and Legal Affairs Commission, released 2 articles on or about Mark Carney. The first one, on the 10th, was a much more objective retelling of what has happened in Canadian politics over the previous weeks from that date, and the second one being a much more poorly written and lighthearted article implying that they might be written by different people, but I have no proof that they are. The second one was also an accurate retelling of what has happened over Canadian politics in the previous weeks. However, this one had a much bigger focus on the Americans than the previous one. I think that both these articles are written in quite the objective and matter-of-the-fact way, but by all means, if you feel like I am untrustworthy or that I'm a paid Chinese liberal shill, then read them yourselves and come to your own fucking conclusion. If you would like to continue to call me biased or anything like that, and you won't even read them yourself, then that's fine. You're ignorant, uneducated, and I am a better human being than you. Don't speak in my comment section, please. However, the real problem of this situation, in my opinion, is not the articles themselves, but the distribution methods behind them. The press release stated that the campaign received high levels of user engagement and views, with amplified articles about Mr. Carney receiving between 85,000 and 130,000 interactions, and an estimate of 1 to 3 million views. This level of engagement on WeChat is high when compared with popular state media outlets like the People's Daily that average only 30,000 interactions per post. And that posts on the Yole Yomain account on March 25th were amplified in a coordinated and inauthentic way by a group of 30 smaller WeChat accounts that boosted the discoverability of the posts. This amplification occurred over the course of 4 days, keeping narratives about Mr. Carney in algorithmic feeds, albeit at a much lower engagement and views. We don't know why the Chinese are doing this, but we do know that they are. In the Globe and Mail article, a woman named Stephanie Caravan, a former national security analyst and a professor at Carleton University, gave a comment. I looked into Stephanie Caravan and couldn't find any overt political leanings. However, she has 5 books to her name that I could find. I checked out the most negative reviews of these books, and none of them said that she was too much of a liberal, or too biased, or too much of a progressive shill. The worst reviews for her books say that they are informative but dry, and telling her to stop saying the Ukraine, which all right, cool. She seems to be a genuine expert in the field of security and intelligence, and she said this: "It could be a test of their ability to spread a narrative. They are always looking to improve," she said. "There could be further attempts down the road." In that article, they also mentioned the comments of a conservative candidate, which in the name of fairness I will mention now, considering his name actually came up in the releases. Conservative candidate Michael Chong, who has served as the party's foreign affairs critic for years, said he considers the information operation an attempt by the Chinese government to promote Mark Carney to Chinese-speaking communities in Canada. The next government of Canada should be chosen by Canadians and Canadians alone, Mr. Chong said. He said in a news release that the pre-election WeChat post played up the former central banker's experience and credentials, noting it said Carney is a veteran who has been working in the financial circle for many years and is well versed in the routine of speaking with data. It said as soon as he came to power, he quickly launched a tax reduction policy. For example, he proposed to reduce taxes on the middle class and reduce the minimum tax rate by 1%. At the same time, he waved his hand and abolished the carbon emission tax. This combination punch tried to please voters with the strategy of giving money plus environmental protection to Canadians. What we know now is that there is a Chinese information operation that is trying to get inside of Canadian politics. We don't yet know why they are doing this, and we don't know, if any, which candidate they are supporting. The operation is minimal and is targeted specifically towards Chinese diaspora communities. Typically speaking, these information campaigns tend to target diaspora communities, just like in the NSIS leaked information about the Indian campaign. And that's the way it is. All right, that was my Walter Cronkite impression done. Here, onto my reactions about what conservatives have been talking about this video. First up, the Dan Freeman show. For starters, I think Dan is a good guy and has the capabilities, unlike some of the other people I'm going to mention, to change for the better. And not only that, but I'm going to treat the other people here much more like actual journalists who are reporting information than Dan. I still definitely have some criticism and some actionable things I would need to be done before I would consider actually watching him. So much of this video is spent with just Dan asking questions.
Wow.
Okay.
How many ties does this guy?
Oh my God, dude, for fuck's sake. There's nothing wrong with asking questions, but also true curiosity would lead you to try to figure out that answer. Some people will try to manipulate you by just asking questions or jacking off, as one controversial YouTuber put it. Let's say, for instance, if I wanted you to believe that 9/11 was an inside job, I would say, isn't it really weird that the towers just fell like that? Isn't it weird Bush already wanted a justification to invade Iraq? Isn't it weird? Whatever it is. They do this because they don't have the actual proof necessary to lead you to what they want you to think, and they just hope you'll fill in the blank. Any good thought process should follow a three-pillar-esque process. Socrates is a man, all men are mortal, therefore Socrates is mortal. Boom, that's all you need. Each pillar can't be taken away or changed in any way, and if it is, then the answer doesn't logically follow. Socrates isn't a woman, all men are mortal, therefore Socrates is mortal, doesn't really work. It is technically possible to be not a woman and also not be a man. My pet rock, which I have named Socrates, and isn't in fact a woman, is immortal. Now for the record, I don't think Dan is intentionally using questions to manipulate anyone. I would like it if instead of asking so many questions to his viewers, Dan actually just looked up what he's asking. Google is free. I'm sure you can find the email of some autistic professional who would happily yap about it for free. And ChatGPT is also free, and getting decently good at being able to give insightful answers. Anyway, for Dan, C-. Definitely the best of the worst, and I think someone who cares enough about what he does to make his content better. But as the content doctor, Dan, the only thing I ask of you is to just redirect some of your curiosity. Maybe write down all the questions you have about a topic before you record it, and then see if you can answer some of them, just to provide some sort of information. The next on the list, however, is the Elevate podcast. Now, although the Elevate podcast had a video on this topic that is almost the exact same in length and material as Dan, I'm going to be much more aggressive on this guy. With Dan, I think he's a good guy, no question about it, and I certainly don't believe that he's doing anything maliciously. That is not the case with this guy, though, at all in the slightest. For starters, this guy has a much more professional setup and 100,000 subscribers. If he wanted to, he could take some journalism course or read some book and make sure that he actually knows the framework for how you should report information to people to not make some mistakes that your average everyday person probably would in his scenario. But for starters, I think you are actually doing things that would be considered malicious. Anyone who mocks fact checkers without actually doing any fact checking themselves is horrible. All you are doing when you say these things is ruining the reputation of organizations that put a lot of work into making sure that the information that is out there is good, which would be understandable if you yourself were doing some research or fact checking, but you're not doing any at all. Now, most mainstream media will tell you that the Chinese information campaigns were both negative and positive against Mark Carney. I actually disagree. I read the actual documents the Privy Council dropped because I did my research, and in my opinion, I think these are just normal but poorly written articles about the state of Canadian politics at the times they were released. But I disagree with the mainstream media because I did my homework. Let's see why you disagree with the mainstream media, dude.
Outrageousness of these people who claim to be fact checkers, saying, well, it's both positive and negative. It's both coverages. Really? Well,
really? Yeah, I read the documents. Yeah, I know exactly what I'm talking about. I read the fucking documents.
Look at the history of Mark Carney.
What the fuck does that have to do? True. Forget actually just reading the fucking documents and coming to your own conclusions. Think about Mark Carney's past. Notice how he doesn't reference even anything, actually. But let's go back to those three pillars again. Even if what he said was true, that wouldn't be enough to say what he is currently saying. I wouldn't care if the liberals had close ties with Chinese people in the CCP. It would be fishy, but nowhere near enough to prove any sort of intent or coercion with Mark Carney and the CCP. In this entire video, he constantly grabs you by the shirt and drags you right before the conclusion of what he wants you to think. He constantly implies that the liberals are working with the Chinese, which is a pretty fucking big claim that he provides zero evidence for. Fucking none.
Look at the history of the Liberal Party. Look how close and tight they've been with China.
What the fuck? What?
The CCP. and those who are associated by relation to the CCP.
You're making a pretty big fucking claim there, my guy. Do you have any fucking evidence at all? Like, you're insinuating that the liberals are working with the Chinese government to take down the conservatives. Do you have any evidence of this? Do you have any evidence? Do you have any evidence at all? Do you have any evidence at all? None? Cute.
Have been so close to the Liberal Party of Canada. We will see here. The task force gets up and does their press briefing on this very issue, and here are the details.
Here we go.
We are aware of
it's rebel news, bro. Kill me. And also, you could probably put a little bit more fucking effort into your videos than just reading a fucking rebel news tweet. Not even the article, a fucking tweet. If you really cared about truth and intellectual honesty, you could actually try to put in some effort and find the press releases and the information that was released by the Privy Council, instead of acting like nothing but a puppet for rebel news and actually coming to your own conclusion. But you're not going to do that, are you? This is an actual question that I want answered from you people. Why are so many modern conservative pundits such horrible, biased, and uninformed fairy tale tellers? I said this multiple times when I was actually reacting to the video, but if you give a mouse a cookie, he'll ask for some milk. And if you give a conservative a headline, they'll invent this like whole fantasy land just for you, bro. It's actually amazing. And this part is genuinely disgusting. I remember when I was a conservative, Steven Crowder would do this all the time where he just plops something on screen that looks like it supports his claim, even when it doesn't.
See this type of stuff happening, you have to be reminded of the connection that
What the fuck? What the fuck?
Mark Carney has had to Beijing, to China, to the central bank of China over the past decade. And you
Oh
have to
my
wonder,
god. Oh, we know the connection that Mark Carney has to China. Do we? What? Do we? Even the screenshot you posted has no way for me to access it or read about it, which defeats the point of a source, by the way. Who the fuck is Yin Yang, bro? The fuck is Yin Yang, man? And the only thing this says is that Mark Carney met with the mayor of Beijing. And what does Mark Carney meeting with the mayor of Beijing have to do with anything about what he just fucking said? Hey, sorry. So real quick, I'm putting this here because during the recording, I kept saying the mayor of Hong Kong, and when I meant to say the mayor of Beijing. That being said, my point still stands. If you're talking about how Mark Carney has connections to the Chinese government, and then you say, oh yeah, he's got connections to Beijing, but you mean he just literally spoke to the mayor of Beijing and not like the Chinese administration? That is an incredible lie by omission. He really just found some like Chinese looking post where Mark Carney had a meeting with a Chinese person who isn't even a part of the same Chinese administration we are referring to and thought, yeah, fucking put it in, I'll go. If you had even an ounce of shame in your body, you would take down this video or issue a correction and apologize to your audience for lying to them, but you don't and you won't. Did you not think that anyone would check what you put on the screen? Give your head a shake, bro. You are a coward who is the perfect embodiment of why politics is so divisive nowadays. You're getting an F. Put more effort into your videos, stop lying, link your sources, do your own research, and stop relying on secondary sources and tweets for your videos. At least Mr. Sunshine Baby has an excuse that he's special needs. You're just dumb and malicious. But speaking of him, last but not least, Mr. Sunshine Baby.
Mark Carney is being targeted by China. But it's a consensual target. He's come out and he said that he admires the Chinese dictatorship. No, wait, that was Justin Trudeau. Or was that Mark Carney who said it? You know what? Two peas in the same pod. Let's just chalk it up as they both said it because they both...
What the
Our own state-funded media like CBC and our other mainstream media like Global News and CTV, they also provide a form of domestic election interference, in my opinion. They misrepresent facts. They always prop up the liberals, and obviously they have a huge audience.
For instance, mis- and disinformation online can be fueled by artificial intelligence through its ability to leverage algorithms to amplify messages and content, and its ability to further generate fake images and videos such as deepfakes. Il incombe à chacun de protéger.
Okay, so they're using deep fakes and artificial intelligence to prop
That's not
up.
That's not what she said. That's not what she's saying. Okay, think critically. Please, for the love of God, think critically. Every thought in your brain should be A plus B equals C. Socrates is a man. All men are mortal. Socrates is mortal. Boom. Not, she mentioned the word fucking AI, and so what that means is that China is fucking doing... That's not how thinking works, my guy. You need to think critically, not just baselessly speculate when you act as the journalist to 460,000 fucking Canadians.
The liberal ideology,
No, that's not what she fucking said.
or to hammer into the conservatives and to
That's not what she said was happening at all in the slightest, but okay.
slander, do these slander campaigns using AI.
That's, bro, I would love to be you, my guy. I would love to be you. Holy fuck. You're actually a, no, don't say that word.
They also provide a form of domestic election interference, in my opinion. They misrepresent facts. They always prop up the liberals, and obviously they have a huge audience.
I genuinely don't even know where to begin with this guy. You get an N for negative IQ. I don't know how to fix you, bro. Convert to fucking Islam or something. I